let me show you guys something real quick because they have this Umar Johnson clip that went viral, and it's interesting that this one didn't go viral and this wasn't really a talking point. You know, they made sure they showed the one where he was talking about what black men needed to do because they knew that was going to piss off a lot of black men and get the black men to attack Umar Johnson. But it was interesting. This one didn't really go viral. I'm surprised. Let me show you something real quick. Let me show you something, man. This is Umar Johnson, Dr. Umar Johnson, talking about black feminists and, you know, feminism, how it affected the black community. Take a listen.
You know, I've seen a video of yours where you said that feminism has conditioned black women to view black men as the enemy.
It has. Feminism was financed by the CIA. Gloria Steinem, I think she was.
Right, yeah.
Mother of modern feminism, because traditional feminism goes back to the 1800s, right?
Fair use, fair use.
Susan B. Anthony and those white supremacists. But Gloria Steinem was a CIA agent. They financed her. Her first feminist magazine they paid for. The CIA brought feminism into the white household to get the woman out the house and into the black household to turn the black woman against the black man.
So I find it interesting that did not go viral. This was done on purpose. You know what I mean? This was done on purpose. If you look at the history, just knowing the history, you know, when I was a kid, like this was me this was like in elementary school or I think middle school, but I was like young. I used to they didn't really talk about feminism. They didn't really push it. And I always wondered, I was like, so they would talk about women's suffrage rights and they would talk about it for like 10 minutes. Like it just had, and they didn't really want to dive into it. They just said that they actually dived in more into civil rights than women's suffrage rights. And it was kind of strange because I was at an all white school basically. And I always wondered why. So I would look at the pages, right? And it would say like 19 something, or, you know, like the 1920s, 1930s, late 1800s. And it would show like the women marching. I'd be like, why? There's no black women in there. And it just clicked. I was like, oh, yeah. You know, I was a kid. This is when I was in elementary, right? So I already knew what was up. Now, this was in elementary. I knew this. This is why when I see a black feminist, it's literally like, do you know how many, especially nowadays, so many black women that claim that feminism stuff, like they, I literally be like, I'll be scratching my head. I'll be like, what are you doing? Like, I look at a black feminist, like almost how even like in confuse, like just utter confusement. Cause I'm like, you do know, like when you look at the research behind the white women that spearheaded the feminist movements, or, you know, the women's suffrage movements, they were white supremacists. It confuses me because it's almost like for me, like just on the logic, just logically, it's like when people were saying that Donald Trump is racist and whatnot. And I don't know if that's true or not, but then you say our solution is Joe Biden, who is a confirmed racist, who literally was like, I'm talking about systematically, like a part of, like, he's like a literal part of systematic racism and actually push for systematic racism really through, you know, they called him Jim Crow Joe. I'm like, so he basically, like, right now he's suffering from dementia. So he forgot that he doesn't really like black people like that. So it confuses me. You know what I mean? It's almost like seeing a black Democrat. It confuses me. It confuses me. When you look, I'm very surprised because they, like the one that they made with Umar Johnson, that clip where he was basically saying that he's encouraging black men to pick up the pieces of the black single moms that made terrible decisions, which I completely disagree with. But they made sure that went viral, so like all the black men turned on it. I was curious, and I was like, let me watch the full interview, and it was an interesting interview. It was a very interesting interview, and like I said, I'm not saying Umar Johnson's not a scam artist, but I liked the interview. I thought it was very informative, and I was very interested that this part did not go viral when he talked about feminism in the black community. And I'm just saying, like, the idea, it's like when you look at policies, you look at something that was really destructive, it was that. And on top of that, when you look at especially some of the people that a lot of black feminists or black women will look up to, and you look at their heroes were white supremacists. And they're quick, especially, you know, black women, that subscribe to these ideals. They're quick to talk about systematic racism or white supremacy, but their heroes are white supremacists. You know what I mean? That's why, feminism has always confused. Black feminists have always confused me, and I find it funny how that Umar Johnson clip did not go viral, and nobody really wanted to talk to me about that. I didn't want to talk about that. It almost reminded me how in elementary school, how they kind of they didn't want to talk about really the feminism, what it really was, because really when you look at it, they were actually very racist to the point they didn't even want feminism was for white women, upper middle class upper middle class and above white women that wanted to work or wanted to get more money than the men. It was never feminism really isn't about equality. It's really, me personally, this is how I look at feminism. I look at it as another branch, a real branch. When you talk about white supremacy, I kind of look at that as feminism as a branch, a major branch in white supremacy. Might be even one of the biggest branches of it, if there was such a case, because I find it funny. We label everything white supremacy except the court system. We label everything that's white supremacy except for child support, which is literally you know where I'm going with this. So that's my thoughts on it. I feel like they did do Dr. Umar Johnson a little bit dirty, and it's funny how they didn't let this go viral, because it would change the minds of a few people. You know what I mean?